Peace and love. Welcome to Freedom Writers weekly book club reading. How's everyone doing this grand rising?
Grand Rising Mother, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you. How are you
Oh,
today?
okay. Oh, wonderful. I got started, I came a little late, but I'm like, okay, yeah. A cat at like 5 o'clock in the morning decided to go into my bathroom and start knocking over things, broke a makeup case. And I'm like, I wanted to waste all 9 of his lives, but I thought that wouldn't be prudent, so I left it. Oh, he was about to get it in. He was about to go to the ethereal world. He was getting ready to go there.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you are here today. You were right on time. So thank you for being here. Thank everyone else. Last week we ended reading the New Beginning study course, Connect the Dots and See. We read chapters 4 through 6, I believe. So today we're going to pick up on chapter 7 and go from there. We had a very good discussion last week. So did anyone want to piggyback on what we talked about last week, or is everyone ready to just go ahead and get into the reading? Okay.
Islam Mother.
Islam.
So I think we talked about last week about how um, the banks, like from the very inception of this USA corporation, has planned on um, robbing us of our wealth. So basically, this was the plan um, before they even gained their independence. They had planned on, stealing our money way back when. So, wasn't something they just came up with, like 150 years ago. This is from before.
Yes, they have been uh, conspiring. I know a lot of people don't like that conspiracy theory word, but they have actually been conspiring for a very long time to basically take steal the vast majority of the wealth of not just this country, but of the world. But it basically started here. So we went over the rest of the timelines. We talked about the plenary powers. We talked about um, some of the habeas corpus and talked about quite a lot. We talked about the 10-mile square radius, that's what we read about how the United States doesn't only has jurisdiction over the 10-mile square radius of Washington, D.C. Basically, that is the only uh, the employees and people in that jurisdiction are the only ones that basically the laws basically apply to. But we have voluntarily, unknowingly, basically began to adhere to those or acquiesce to those laws as if they applied to us. We did it unknowingly. So I'm going to go ahead and continue reading from chapter 7. In chapter 7, the title is Titles of Nobility. I'll go ahead and start reading. And does anyone else have a book and that can read along or would be willing to volunteer to read along? Or if not, I'll read. It's not a problem.
Islam. My book did come in, so I can.
Okay. I will hand the mic over to you as well. But I'll go ahead and get, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, never mind. I was gonna say, yes,
Okay, well, I'll read chapter 7 and then I'll let you read chapter 8 and then we'll go from there back and forth until we get through it. Deal?
yes, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Titles of Nobility, Chapter 7. Almost anyone who has read the original 13th Amendment of the Constitution thinks that this amendment relates only to attorneys. This is mostly true. However, there are other far-reaching and significant meanings to the term titles of nobility. The word title means a notice put over, up on, or under anything to distinguish it, or it explained, or explain it. That which is inscribed, a document as a title, deed, or certificate, an appellation of dignity, distinction, and or preeminence, hereditary or acquired, given to persons by virtue of rank, office, achievement, or privilege, or as a mark of respect. Title may be classified as those of Group A, sovereignty attached to hereditary rank, and office grouped in levels such as 1, higher, emperor, Tsar, Khazar, king, sultan, shah, or mikado. 2, lower, duke, grand duke, duke, prince, nobility attached to hereditary rank, irrespective of office. Group B, grouped as greater. 1, prince, duke, marquis, count, earl, viscount, or baron. 2 is the lesser, which is baron, knight, cavalier, or cavalier, ritter, caballero, esquire, or noble. Webster's New International Dictionary, 1943, is the reference for those definitions or meanings. Nobility, meaning possessing the power of transmitting by inheritance, some acknowledged. Preeminence, founded on hereditary succession of high birth or exalted rank or station, whether inherited or conferred. Quality of possession or possessing characteristics or properties of a very high or order, superiority and excellence, value, or the like. Attorney. The word attorn means to turn, to transfer homage and service from one lord to another, to render homage and service to a lord. The word attorney means to transfer, to turn. One who is appointed or admitted in the place of another to transact any business for him. So the word Lord, we've been taught to think that it means like Jesus, we call him our Lord, or God, we call him our Lord in the Bible, and or growing up in church, and as if that was the Father and the Son. But here it's telling us that kind of sort of like Lord basically means attorney, which is one who transacts any of our business for us. Because basically, I believe we read in the previous chapters that we can't do our own business because we're incompetent and we don't know law. So this is why we have to have attorneys. In our case, reading on, it says, in our case, attorney means to transfer homage and service from our republic to allegiance to the crown in England, to the private laws of the bankers and the IMF, to whom the corporate United States owes vast sums of money, under whom the corporate United States went bankrupt in 1933. American jurisprudence defines attorney. Attorney means with obligation to the court and to the public, not to the client, and wherever the duty of his client conflict with those he owes as an officer of the court in the administration of justice, the former must yield to the latter. Corpus Juris Secundum, 1980, Section 4. Note, by definition, the obligations and duties of attorneys extend to the court and the public. Read government. Before any mere client. Clients are wards of the court and therefore persons of unsound mind. See also client or wards of the court. So basically, the attorneys have obligations to the court before they have obligation to us, is basically what this is saying. All attorneys owe their allegiance first to the Crown of England, next to the courts, and then to the public, and lastly to their clients. It is any wonder that your attorney never wins any case for you. It is the job of attorneys to transfer our wealth, all of our wealth and substance, into the hands of the bankruptcy for a debt we the people do not owe. That is their job. That is their pledge to those to whom they owe allegiance. Bar, which means British Accreditation Regency. Attorneys are members of the bar. The American Bar Association is a branch of the Bar Council, which is the only bar association in England. All laws today in America are copyrighted property of a British company. All state codes are private, commercial, British-owned law. All attorneys follow instruction from England. Attorneys are responsible for following orders from the Crown in England by drawing up the laws and acts which brought this country into bankruptcy. They created titles of nobility in various ways through laws, acts, and legislations. All laws, rules, and regulations for every city, county, state, and national government are created by attorneys in Chicago on orders from England, which are then sent to the various legislators, city councils, and county supervisors across the nation for enactment. Rarely, if ever, are these laws, rules, and regulations read by those who enact them. Most of those people elected for office who enact those laws are attorneys themselves. The 13th Amendment, titles of nobility. The resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States and the 13th Amendment is as follows. Resolved by the State and House of Representatives, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, 2/3 of both houses concurring that the following section be submitted to the legislators of the several states which have ratified, when ratified by the legislator of 3/4 of the state, shall be valid and binding as part of the Constitution of the United States. If any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall without the consent of Congress accept and retain any present, pension, office, or emolument of any kind, whatever, from the emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them or either of them. The War of 1812 served several purposes. It delayed the passage of the 13th Amendment by Virginia, allowed the British to destroy the evidence of the first 12 states that had already ratified this amendment, and it increased the national debt when coheres the Congress, which coheres the Congress to reestablish the National Bank Charter in 1816 after the Treaty of Ghent was ratified by the Senate in 1815. Article 6 of the Articles of Confederation states, nor shall the United States in Congress assembled or any of them grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7 of the Constitution for the United States states, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding office of profit or trust under them shall, without consent of Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind, whatever, from the king, prince, or foreign state. Also, Section 10, Section 10, Clause 1 states, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. There was, however, no measurable penalty for a violation of the above section. Congress saw this as a great threat to the freedom of Americans and our Republican form of government. In January 1810, Senator Reed proposed the 13th Amendment, and on April 26, 1810, it was passed by the Senate 26-1. First session, page 670, and by the House 87-3 on May 1st, 1810. Second session, page 2050, and submitted to the 17 states for ratification. Enter the War of 1812. The original 13th Amendment kept attorneys and anyone with a title of nobility from any public office in America. Why was it so important to American sovereigns to have this amendment in effect? And what advantage would the foreign bankers have over American sovereigns if this amendment was not in effect? By 1812, all states had ratified the 13th Amendment except for Virginia. Virginia did ratify the amendment in 1818 after the War of 1812. Note that the War of 1812 was waged mostly in Washington, D.C. The British burned all the repository buildings, attempting to destroy all records of the United States, of the new United States. The War of 1812 was partly waged to prevent the passage and enforcement of the new 13th Amendment. Most book repositories throughout the states were burned to the ground and all records destroyed. There's a famous painting in Washington, D.C., which can be found in many books, depicting the British boarding a ship after they surrendered. The painting shows the British soldiers carrying their rifles as they mounted the gangplank to the ship. One might ask, what army is allowed to keep their weapons after they surrender? One might also ask, who really won that war? As a result of the accumulated debt of waging that war, a new bank charter was issued for another 20 years. The 13th Amendment was finally ratified by Virginia, the only remaining state necessary to complete ratification after the War of 1812, and thereafter became law. The rest of the story regarding titles of nobility. In another book, we explain the hierarchy of authority from the sovereign to his family, to his neighborhood, to his township, to his county, to his state, and to his country, and finally to the planet. Is everything running according to this line of command in today's society? Not quite. The foreign bankers knew that they could not control sovereigns with their system. So they decided to design a fictional system that looks like the real thing, but really did not. I'll read that again. It says the foreign bankers knew that they could not control sovereigns with their system so they decided to design a fictional system that looks like the real thing, but really it is not. The first thing the authorities did was to construct an artificial entity which looked and sounded like the Federal Republic, the United States of America. So the Republic, it has United with a lowercase u. Notice that the U in the United is a small u. That's because it is an adjective describing the state's noun of America. The states as a noun, so it's a noun of America. What if one capitalized the U as in United States with the capital U? This would be a name instead of an adjective. It would be a title. So now we have a title for the democracy that was incorporated in England in 1871 as an English corporation. Does this mean that we are being ruled by a private foreign corporation instead of a government? Yes, indeed it does. In 1944, the Buck Act took the sovereignty away from the states so that the states could also have a title and ID as the state of Idaho or ME, the state of Maine. Then came the counties and municipalities. Each entity formed their own corporation, which usurped the organic government. What we now have is an inverse relationship to the original organic republics. On March 9th, 1933, the House, the 73rd Congress, Session 1, Chapter 1, page 83, first paragraph, third sentence stated, under the new law, the money is issued to the banks in return for government obligations, bills of exchange, drafts, notes, trades, acceptance, and bankers' acceptance. The money will be worth 100 cents on the dollar because it is backed by the credit of the nation. It will represent a mortgage on all the homes and other property of all the people in the nation. Emphasis added. Okay, that was chapter 7. Mother, if you would like to continue chapter 8, freedom for today.
Okay. I just wanted, before I read, wanted to say, while you was reading that says a lot, because when all the other presidents that we had before 45 were all quote unquote attorneys, although they have no record of where they ever tried a case, won a case, you know. So basically reading this, it's saying, no, that's a title of nobility. And the whole purpose is for them to siphon money from us.
Right.
Back to, you know, the emperor, prince, king, whatever, whoever had it for the crown. Right. And I also noticed that, you know, when 45 took office, he made a note of saying that he used his own money to pay for everything. So he didn't accept any money from the corporate, you know, United States.
Right. He didn't take a salary.
Dime. Right. And then even when they tried to give him a salary, he donated it to charity. He gifted it. So he didn't even take it. He just, you know, gave it. And then the other thing I noticed is that they chose a businessman. So he was not an attorney.
Right.
So
he was running it like a business.
Right. So which means that, you know, I mean, not to get off the that's our guest star, but it says that they're not going to recognize any title of nobility, which means he put himself under that. Like he's like, he doesn't have that title of nobility.
Absolutely.
So he would be recognized. So that's pretty smart. He knows.
Yeah, that is. I'm glad you
He
brought
knew
that
it.
down.
Yeah. So he knew what he was doing. So I'm like, wow, okay. That's why he made it known. I did not take money from the crown. I'm not working to give
Absolutely.
money back to the crown. I did not, they tried to give me money. I took it and gave it away. And now I don't have that type of mobility. So that was something. I just wanted to make it.
Great,
Hello, mother.
great point. Yes, Islam. Peace, mother.
Islam. That's why they were upset with him.
Mm-hmm.
That
Oh,
was the
yeah.
main reason they were upset with him, and that was one of the main reasons they wanted him out of office because he
Mhm.
was in the middle of their agenda being
Right.
blocked.
Right.
And a lot of people were shocked because they was like, why didn't he accept the money? And I told one of my friends, I said, it's a bigger picture than what you're seeing.
Right.
He
Mhm.
understands what's going on. People think Trump is not smart. He understands history. He knows history very well.
Indeed.
So
Mhm.
that's why he kept saying they're not coming for me, they're coming for you. And when you brought up earlier how that's why they're using us to pay their debt off.
Right.
They're using us as
Right.
pawns, you know to pay their debt off. And that's why at the end of the year we're paying taxes, and that money goes back to the queen. It goes back to
Mhm.
England. That's why we shouldn't be paying taxes, because I always ask that question. I'm like, why are we paying taxes at the end of the year when everything we purchase, we paying taxes on it anyway? So what are they
Right.
doing with the money?
Absolutely. Exactly. So what's happening is we got tricked into using their dollars. They tricked us into turning in all of our gold, all of our assets and over to
Mhm.
them. They tricked us out of our land, a lot of our ancestors, they tricked us out of our gold, and they basically work their little dollars and their little money in to get us, because the only reason why we can be taxed is because we're using their money. They're
Mhm.
utilizing their money system.
Right.
So this goes back to, it makes perfect sense now. The gentleman that I told you guys about, who basically figured out the way to discharge debts or whatever, you guys, it's very complex, this stuff. um
Mhm.
it's very, very complex, and it's definitely gonna take time to learn. It's a lot of filing and paperwork that has to be done. But like I said, I've been taking my time to try and learn it and invest money into it so that I can get this information down pat, because it's something that we need. Because they are definitely taking advantage of us, you guys. And making it very, very difficult for us to be able to survive every day. And it's only getting worse. The food is going up. um my husband said he went and found something he was looking for while he was on the road. That one week, last week, it was like $4, and then next week he comes back and it's like $8 now. So inflation is getting crazy. um you know so you're not going to be able to buy a loaf of bread with this money that they have in the very near future. It's getting down to the wire.
Yeah, it's getting really, really bad, and it's spiraling so fast. Like it's
Hmm.
coming back to back to back to back to back. And if people not paying attention, and it's unfortunate, a lot of us are not going to be able to even you know get on board quickly because everything is happening so fast.
Right.
And if we don't come together as a people, oh my God, we're going to be out there. We really are. We're going to be like a sheep amongst wolves.
Absolutely.
Yes, I just wanted to put that out. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, thank y'all. I enjoy your input. We definitely want to be interacting with each other and trying to, pick each other's brains and break this stuff down so we all can get an inner understanding. So thank you for your input. Mother Sherry, Mia, if you would like to go ahead and read chapter 8, start reading, you can now.
Okay.
Thank
Okay. And it's funny, it says whenever a farmer, because I was going to talk about that, because, my whole thing is that's why, not only just coming together, that's the whole reason why I, wanted to help show people how to like grow things even in small spaces. So
Yes.
we won't have to be out there, like
Mhm.
again, I haven't been to the produce section in over a year because I grow my own
Mhm.
in my small space. And, besides for, getting together, canned goods, which we all should have been doing anyway, and
Mhm.
non-perishable items, we just need enough to like weather this storm. And, even when it comes to buying, I don't drink like cow's milk because I'm lactose intolerant, but I drink almond milk. But you
Mhm.
can even get some of those that are perishable. I mean, not perishable, that have like a longer shelf life.
Yes.
So you don't even have to worry about milk and flour. Well, you can make your own bread.
Right.
You just gotta have the equipment. So so we have to get into the mind frame of not letting what the world is happening in the world like we
Indeed.
do us. We do us. And if the world hasn't figured it out, let them figure it out. But we gonna be okay. That's what I want to do.
I agree. I like that, Mother. I definitely like
Yes,
that.
yes. Okay, so chapter 8, Freedom Today. It says whenever farmers finance his farm through a bank or through a farm equipment company, says say he buys a John Deere tractor, for example. He is then tied to the bank's jurisdiction, and the bank dictates to him in various ways. The farmer must buy his crop seeds from one of the major seed companies. These companies, who belong to the banks or to Standard Oil and the like, sell only hybrid seeds, which means the farmer cannot take a certain portion of his crop and save the seed for the next year's crop. Hybrid seeds will not grow the second year. Plus, hybrid seeds require various fertilizers, which must be purchased from a corporation. They require pesticides, herbicides, etc., all of which must be purchased from the companies belonging to the corporation. Then the government sets the prices on all products sold. The farmer must then sell only to those same companies with different names, but owned by corporations owned by banks. Timber was once on land. Timber was once on land that was privately owned, or it was public land owned by the people and held in a trust for the people. During this period, people who owned the land took care not to raise it. They selectively cut the timber by choosing certain seeds to be harvested during the year and left the remaining trees for the future. Then all the lands held in the trust for the people were transferred to the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, and hypothecated by the United States in all caps to help pay the artificial debt to the international bankers. Large companies were formed under Standard Oil and the like to form companies like Weyerhaeuser, National Paper, etc., who now owns millions of acres of timberlands. Because of this, these large timber companies wanted to clear cut the lands, strip it clean, which caused all sorts of problems such as erosion and many other harms, and I might add warming. It became and is now nearly impossible for private people to buy such lands to harvest the timber. The government does not sell rights to timber in small tracts, such as 1,000 acres anymore. It now goes into the millions of dollars and profits most small business people from entering into the bidding. All the damage done to our forests was not the result of we the people destroying the land, as the Sierra Club wants everyone to believe. It was the huge companies that raped the land and then blame it on the little longer. The same result of the timberlands also applies to the mines. Public lands are now, excuse me, public lands are now in the hands of the Bureau of Land Management. You now have to register with BLM in order to graze cattle on public land. It has nearly become so expensive to register and pay the BLM for grazing cattle that it is prohibitive. Trademarks registered to the patent office and barcodes are the means by which international bankers track the elements of the world economy. When you go to the grocery store, all food products are now registered by a barcode. You can fly a plane through the air without a license. Can you fly a plane through the air without a license? How about a plane registered and numbered? How about a radio or television station? Can you still get air for your tires for free at any service station? Who owns the water rights below the ground in the state of Arizona? It is nearly impossible to drill a water well in Arizona. Even when you can, you must get and pay for a permit. You can you walk where you want to walk? When you come to a red light and there is no car in sight, if you cross against the red light and the cop sees you, what will happen? If you're a smoker, can you smoke where you please? Can you fish? Can you hunt? Can you hike where you want? Can you enter a national park without charge? Can you burn your barn down if you no longer wanted it? If you have an idea, you must get it patented to protect it. Try building a home of your own design on your own property. Do you need a permit? Money used to be represented by a title called a gold certificate. Now a dollar bill is backed by another title, your credit. Before you can claim your straw man, your title, you must file a UCC-1 financing statement and security agreement with the Secretary of your state. But who can represent your straw man title in a court of fictional law? Not you, of course, because you are not a fiction. And besides, if you attempt to represent your title in a court of fiction, you would be using copyrighted material called statutes. And you could be enjoined in and charged with the same crimes that a fictitious plaintiff is charged with. And charged with the same crimes that a fictitious plaintiff is charged the straw man title with. The straw man title can't speak for itself because it is a corporation. So who can represent your title in court? You said an attorney. Now, your credit is being used, not by you. Fictional laws called statutes say you can't. Fictional laws called statutes say you can't. Did you know your credit even has a title? It actually has many titles, namely Federal Reserve notes. There are many other titles also, including Federal Reserve bills, Federal Reserve bonds, checks, bill of exchange, trade acceptances, site drafts, documentary drafts, judgments, and any and every bill that you receive. Spiritual numbers. In the Bible, the number 7 equals perfection. We will be using the numbers included in the Bible from time to time. We will also include a complete paper regarding the meaning of the different numbers contained in the Bible at a later date. But for now, it would be mentioned that the number 7 equals perfection. For example, if one goes bankrupt in his private life, how long is the bankruptcy effective? 7 years. Thereafter, in commercial terms, you are purified, perfected, and now clean. For a nation, it is 10 times 7, or 70 years. Now, the first judgment against the United States as a debtor nation occurred in 1788. We could have come out of the judgment 70 years later in 1858 to 59. What occurred a few years after that period? What occurred a few years after that period of time? The Civil War. Now, if we added 70 years to 1859, we get 1929. We knew what happened in 1929. Then, if we added 70 years to 1929, we get 1999. We were supposed to come out of Babylon captivity in 1859. We didn't. We were supposed to come out of captivity in 1929. We didn't. This is what the commercial redemption agenda is all about. For those of us who desire to come out of captivity, we have a window of opportunity to do so. That's what we're doing now. Let's again pause a moment in our history. Let's say you have debts beyond your capacity to discharge or to pay with FRNs, Federal Reserve notes, according to what law firm you operate in. and your debts are overwhelming, you can file an action in bankruptcy court to get relief, or you can discharge those debts yourself because you are in the bifurcated law form. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Bifurcated law form. There is no remedy in bankruptcy court, only relief, because you can't pay your debts, but you can get relief from your debts by equity credit exchange by law. By law means under the original jurisdiction. Look up the word lawful and equity in your dictionary, then legal, and compare the difference. So you go into bankruptcy court and petition. After a certain amount of court magic, the judge awards a decree of discharge from the bankruptcy and your debts are discharged. Now you leave the courtroom after this judgment from the judge. You get into the hallway and the attorney of the bank who holds an unsecured mortgage on your house says to you, excuse me, you still owe my bank client $200,000 on your mortgage that was discharged by the court. When are you going to pay up? You open your mouth and say, well, I'll try to get them a payment starting next month. What did you just do to the discharged debt? You just reaffirmed the debt after the discharge. Now, that creditor must be paid in full. It applies to you, and the fact that the bankruptcy court discharged you from that liability 5 minutes earlier and is no longer a force and effect. All right, let's go back to our history. Let's assume that it was January 1st, 1778, and the United States as a government was in default to the Crown of England to the tune of 18 million lira plus interest. As a result, the corporate United States was bankrupt from the start of the United States Constitution, and the debt had to be paid for a period of 70 years. After the period of 70 years, America could have come out of bankruptcy with England on December 31st, 1858. God's word is res judica and stare.
Is res judicata and stare decisis.
Okay, stare decisis, meaning supreme in the eyes of the law. And let's say, as an operation of law, that some type of notice was given to the nation, might have gone something like this. Excuse me, sorry. I have allergies. It says, excuse me, do you people really want to leave Babylon and have your liberty back now? Or would you prefer to keep the crown of England as your master and serve him faithfully, or something along those lines? Look at Deuteronomy 15, 16, and 17, which says, in effect, that if you love your master and your period of service is up, you can go to the judges, recite the fact that you love your master and that you don't want to leave him and choose to serve him for the rest of your life, and place yourself into voluntary servitude to him. So in the year of 1858, the Crown of England, through its agent attorneys, give notice to the United States, says, hey, you guys, you want to leave Babylon and go back to the original jurisdiction, or do you want to have your own government remain bankrupt under us? The southern states did not wish to remain under slavery to the crown and walked out of Congress. The people's failure to give notice of lawful protest was their tactic, which was silent. It was a silent vote to remain in Babylon under the Crown of England with continuing debt, plus the reorganized government, because now you're under the new law form, because the old law form was entitled to freedom and liberty. The South walked out, ending the public side of the federal Constitution. The people did not protest because they were busy fighting the Civil War. Therefore, our officials had to create a new law form that we the people would volunteer into for another 70 years of captivity. I'm sorry, let me read that again. The people did not protest because they were busy fighting the Civil War. Therefore, our officials had to create a new law form that we, the people, would volunteer into for another 70 years of activity. Original jurisdiction. You can go to several law dictionaries to look up meaning of law and legal terms. It depends on the author and publisher as to which law form they publish. If you read Black's Law Dictionary, you're going to get one opinion of one point of view. If you're reading Bouvier's or Valentine's, you might get another point of view. Black's Law Dictionary was first published in 1891, 20 years after the corporate United States came into full force and affected by the Act of February 21st, 1871. Black's Law Dictionary defines the terms and legal meaning of words as they apply to the bifurcate United States.
Bifurcated.
Okay, thank you. There has been a new edition of Black's Law Dictionary roughly every 20 years. And if no one gives notice of lawful protest, they go on to the next stage and say, let's change it again and see if we can go a little further and see if anybody protests. So as we go through the 20-year periods of 1871, 1891, 1911, 1931, 1951, 1971, 1991, and 2011, we get different definitions within Black's Law Dictionary. Bifurcate means divided. The newly incorporated United States is separate from the original jurisdiction of the Republic side under the Constitution. The original Constitution came in with a private and public side. The public government can never be changed because the government for the public is based on the laws of nature and nature's God. And those laws never change. So the general side of government, which we call original jurisdiction, is based on the laws of nature and nature's God and never changes. Could you amend the original jurisdiction? What would you amend to change that which never changes? It is an oxymoron. So original jurisdiction is and always remain exactly what it is, and it never changes. The law never changes. This is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. What is the other side? The side that is amended and does change. It is private government. Is the private government law? No. It comprises the rules and determines the uses and applications of the assets and properties belonging to the private government corporation. Just think for a moment. Does a private owner of a business or property have the right to make his own rules, regulations, and laws for the use of his own property? Yes, indeed he does. That is exactly what the statutes and regulations and rules are that are internal, and they deal with the property and assets of the private government corporation. Did we, the people, fall under the jurisdiction of this private government corporation in 1871? No. Only those who lived in Washington, D.C., its territories, and 14th Amendment slaves were still enforcing the original jurisdiction of the Republic and had the authority to do so. The original jurisdiction government was established on certain principles and rules back in 1789, but it went through a bankruptcy almost right away. And with each stage of bankruptcy, there was reorganization. The reorganization creates a new set of circumstances and perhaps a new set of creditors or masters or rules to discharge the old bankruptcy. Roughly every 20 years, you have a reorganization. You get different changes in regulations and rules, and it goes on and on. And the vice tightens more and more around each one. The proprietors and creditors of that private law form as it goes into stricter and stricter bankruptcy, creating tighter and tighter rules in order to raise the revenue to keep the bankruptcy going. And that is what we see happening today. Do you know now exactly where you are? Do you know what the government has labeled you? do you know now who you really are? Wow, something. That might explain what's going on today. So every 20 years, there's a reorganization where they put on more rules and regulations to make the vice tighter on us. As we're going to raise the gas prices. Now we're going to cause inflation. And now we're going to make it harder for people to buy bread, eggs, and milk. So now they're going to have to look for us for relief. And now we're going to reorganize it to make it look like relief, but we're going to just tighten the grip even more.
Right.
Vicious thing.
Right. Vicious, very.
Wow. Whereas they said the law of God never changes. It is what it is, always and yesterday. So I guess what they're saying is the original Constitution was republic, and it was based off of natural law and the law of
Right.
God, which doesn't change.
Right. Oh, I wish I could pull it up. I was gonna try and pull up I think I have them printed out too, but I have them on file on my computer. What is it called? The hierarchy of laws. I want to pull that up, but I'll pull it up after I read this chapter. And I'll let you go ahead and read chapter 10, or if you wanted to continue reading, you can.
Hello, Mother.
Peace.
I was just noticing when they were talking about the different year dates, when they were saying the 1871, 1891, those dates, you know, during those times, it was always like a major event happened.
Major event.
During those years, like 1991 was the I can't remember what that one was, but like 2011, the 9/11 happened, and then this thing, the thing that just happened with
the first time
Afghanistan.
I think that was like in 1991, that was the first time they tried to bomb. They said the first time they said Al-Qaeda, at the time ISIS, tried to bomb the World Trade Center in New York. And I remember that because I remember looking at on TV, like, what are they doing? And then they succeeded in, 2001. So like 10 years later, they did that. And basically, I was watching TV, and then I saw, because I used to live in that area, and then I watched Building 7 drop in the middle of the day. Like, I'm like, why did Building 7 fall? There was no bombs. There was nothing going on. All of a sudden, this building just dropped. So basically, they was setting all this up in 1991 for what happened in 2001.
Yeah.
And then 2011, they knew who was going to be president because they pre-planned all this. They groomed him by then. They knew who was going to be here and keep this war and everything going.
Right.
I believe all in an attempt to prevent a disaster from happening. That's my opinion.
Yeah, because 1991 was the wasn't that the first Gulf War?
Yes.
And then the 2011 came, and now with this thing with Afghanistan, like that was planned to me. That was planned. So something is coming. But
well, and here's the thing, because even back in 1991, who was president back? That was
George
I
Park,
believe, Daddy Bush. Because he was told by then that he had to, bring it out about Nasara. And he said he would, but then of course he lied and went back on his word. And basically they made it a point of making sure from that point on, everybody that was going to be in that office was already pre-planned to prevent that from happening. And they said around that time is when they had all those documents from like the farmers, all the stuff about Jasara and how all the stuff was supposed to have given back to us. So they had, from what I understand, these documents inside of a truck. and they kept the truck moving the whole time. Like basically they just paid truckers to just move, just keep this truck moving so those documents wouldn't land in one place. And
Wow.
then, yeah, it was crazy when I was reading the story. And they have been gone through, because all the stuff that they did to us from 1871 and all the stuff that they stole from us has been accruing interest. And reason why they made us, basically enemies of the state is because all of that is owed back to us. So basically, since then, what we've been seeing is a whole lot of buckery, gymnastics, kabuki theater, lying, murder, and that was one of the reasons why Lincoln was killed as well.
Right.
Because he wanted to try to do that. And then JFK wanted to do that. And then, so it's crazy. All of this so they can keep what they stole from us, so they can rule over us to keep us as slaves. It's crazy.
But it's crumbling. It ain't gonna last. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me. And then, I always talk to one of my friends, and I'm like, I said, we're born into this world. I said, we think one thing, but it's actually something else. Like, we really
literally
what's going on. It's a
bizarro world. It really is a bizarro world. And I have a feeling that everything comes out, and it will, that everything that we've been taught, everything that we've been taught in school, because think about it, when we're in school, we're taught what? How to write our name in cursive.
Mm-hmm. But I don't even think they're teaching cursive now.
They're not.
No,
they're not.
No.
My kids,
No.
I swear I keep telling y'all, I've been asking my kids for the past couple of years before I decided to keep them out of school, but they actually got still trying to go now because of their dad. But I'm like, what are they teaching y'all in school? It's so much different.
Right. And it's like, right. And even when we were young, they was teaching us spells in cursive. They were putting spells and cursives on us. I mean, because they used to say, how do you spell your name? S-P-E-L-L. And you're writing in cursive, C-U-R-S. You see what I mean? So they was getting to us even when we were younger with spells and cursives. And we didn't even know that we were, who knew that we were going into this bizarro world, because we've been lied to for so long, and I believe when stuff comes out and everything that we've known since the beginning of time, since the beginning of this country is a lie, people don't flip their gourds. They're going to be like, what? We were lied? Yeah, and we were even taught the lie.
Well, guess what, y'all? It's already coming full-fledged. I told y'all I listened to Janice. She's the historian, and she also, like, she's been the one doing the land patents thing on YouTube, and she did the documentary. It's called Who Stole the Cookies. Well, I've been watching her, and she was talking about, I was also listening to Aboriginal Power. They were basically been arguing like on TikTok. It's this whole blown out thing with the Native Americans and other people. Like it is like really getting ready to be a war, like, because the Native Americans don't know anything either. They think that they're from here. Like they're really on TikTok beefing with the conscious community and stuff like that about the land, saying that all of the information that the conscious community is putting out. I'm not saying that everything is true, but they're basically like trying to tie themselves here to this land as if it's theirs. But
Janice, $5 Indians,
right? They $5 Indians, yeah.
And you can't tell them that because they was taught the lie.
She found there are, and I'm starting to wonder though, like, are these documents that are being so-called declassified now, were they really documents that were classified, or are they just documents that they're putting out there to try to write themselves into history or something? That's what's coming to my mind, because she's saying
Mhm.
that well, she's also
Well, you,
saying that she found like documents dating all the way back to like 100 BC with
okay, now
ancestors
we
here
know
in Georgia.
they weren't even around. They only emerged from the Caucasus Mountains 7,000 years ago, if even that. They need to
No,
stop.
I'm talking about our ancestors.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
they said we're older than what they are originally thinking. And then and now
it's
they're
the
even
actual
starting to
family in like a vast majority of the land out in Georgia and stuff like that. It,
mhm.
there were actually
I'm
it's a
telling
lot
you.
of kings and queens, a lot of
Mhm,
kings that were like in the Georgia, Florida area. Um,
mhm.
it's really, really like amazing all of this information that's being.
And they found pyramids here in America too,
Yes,
but they chopped off the
yes,
top and called them mounds. Like
yes, yes.
like pyramids. And they're like putting grass and stuff over it to make people think, oh, it's not nothing to see here. I'm like,
And their actual bodies buried in between them. That she was saying that the no, yeah, I think it's the National Archives, when the excavators, when they found the land and they started excavating, the first excavation was when they started digging, they started finding layers of different minerals like copper and gold and a crystal, a clear crystal that the
mhm,
ancestors were
right.
buried in. It was layers of this on the top and below the burials of the ancestors and stuff. I'm like, wow.
You know about the Olmec head they found in Grand Canyon a couple of years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I'm like, and then
Wow.
when they looked at the back, it had braids like cornrows under the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that saying?
Oh,
In
Lord,
the
stuff
middle of the
going.
Grand Canyon. In the
Mm.
middle of the Grand Canyon. And then you
I'm
know
telling you,
that story. they
let-
had cornrows. We know who wear cornrows.
Right, right.
I'm telling you, when everything come out, people gonna be so shook. Oh my goodness, they gonna be so shook. They gonna be so shook. I'm telling you,
Like
be quiet.
the deeper you go, the darker it gets.
Wow. It's just interesting to sit here and discuss this because, when I was growing up in high school, I was a history buff. Like I was into history, world history, things of that nature. Then I kind of fell off, but now that I'm a part of this book reading club, it's like opening me back up to, start reading more and learning more because we know that they have been lying to us for so long. So uh it's just nice to have this conversation. Like it really truly is. So I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to, point that out as well.
I feel this way. You know what? My mom was a reader, but she was into like that fairy tale crap and a bunch of Christianity books and stuff like that she would read. But she did have encyclopedias here for us when we were kids and stuff like that. I wish I had read that stuff more. But when I was in school, I really wasn't into that history, and I probably feel like that because I probably knew it was some bullshit at this point. You know what I'm saying? Because I was not
I agree.
Mhm. Mhm. Because the conquerors are the ones that write the history from their point of view, and we also know that they like to bloviate and make themselves look more than what they really are,
Right.
and then taught it to us. And then half of our people, because we don't know, we forgot, we went to sleep. And I kept saying, I said, it feels as if there was a spell put over our people, to
Mm-hmm.
like a sleeping spell or something. And
Listen,
now it seems,
I was listening to, oh my God, dude, the universe is like so, okay, man, it's amazing. Like, I love these conversations with y'all, but I was listening to Bobby Hemmett that yesterday, and he was talking about, this was like, I think this video was in 2003, but he was talking about how like in the late 90s, and early 2000s, and you know how they just started putting out a particular type of movie over and over again. And I was just imagining back then, like me and my family, you know, we was always at the dollar show because there was always, you know, a lot of different movies to see. So we was there together watching movies. And I just thought about it yesterday, like, man, that was like really programming. We was really into that, like, but we wasn't really like thinking like they're programming us or this is things that they were trying to tell us that were going on. Because I like to listen to Bobby Hemmett because all of those videos from Bobby Hemmett are like from 1991 all the way up to like 2006 or whatever, his lectures that he was doing, and he was telling of things that were actually happening at that time and what was coming in the near future. And now you just think back and listen and you like, wow, it's just so amazing. And some of that stuff we still going through. But he also like you know breaks down how to use certain energies from certain different guides, spiritual realm, and to really tap into your yourself. He gives a lot of different solutions on different not just rituals, but different um type of herbs and stuff that you can take for particular things back then. Um, very, very informational stuff from Bobby Hemmett. He was I just be like, man, where was he at when what was I doing back then? Like I didn't run into this man and to be able to get this knowledge because I just wish I was able to sit and get that knowledge at that time. Like, but yes, it's
But
crazy.
we were kids and we didn't know any better when he
We was
started,
under that spell.
right. And we didn't know because our parents were under it, our
Yes,
grandparents were under it. And
yes,
I'm gonna just say, they just kind of wanted to just, live and, work and teach kids and go to school, but nothing on a spiritual level. And anything that was on a spiritual level is you gotta go to church, you gotta go to church,
right.
you gotta go to church, you gotta go
And
to
he
church.
was talking about how we always, our minds are basically surface level. They've brainwashed us and programmed us just to think on this surface level thinking. We never think outside the box, or we never think, go within to think broader and create our own imagination. They've basically created an image for us to in
Right,
our way of thinking. And a lot of it is fear based, mostly.
right.
A lot of just all of this division and like even right now this division and stuff that's being created, all of this is programming at its best. Like, and we go we got a lot of work to do, y'all. And we got
Well,
It's a distraction because
it's
they
a
know that we
distraction.
as a people, we're very spiritual. So they trying to keep us out of that
Well, and
realm.
not only that, they are fearing all these solar flares that are coming from
Mm-hmm.
the sun, and they're like, "Where is it going? Where's it?"
Yeah.
I remember one time I was listening to Mr. BBB 333, and I mean, I you could hear it in his voice. He was scared because he was like, it was like the sun was receiving signals from somewhere. He's like,
mm,
because he was looking at the sun, and he said you could see the waves, and then he said all of a sudden the sun absorbed it, and then it kind of, put it out to the earth. And he said, and then the sun was quiet. He's like, I've never seen the sun quiet as long as I've been watching the sun. I've never seen it quiet. He's like, so who sent the sun these signals and where did these signals go to? Like, who were these signals for? I'm like, yeah, you ain't got to tell me. Uh-huh. Get out in the sun, children of the sun. That's why you see them
That's why they try to
chemtrailing.
block
Why
the
you
sun.
see block the sun, and why you think the clouds look all weird lately and chemtrailing. I mean, one time I got up, couldn't sleep. I got up like a 4:45 in the morning, and it wasn't even barely light out. The sun wasn't even barely up yet, and that's all you saw was chemtrails. I'm like, the sun is not even up yet. And I'm like, okay, something is going on. I'm like, this, and this, you could hear it in this man's voice, like, what is that? What was that? Where's it going? And what's going on? He said, and then the sun was quiet. He's like, I've never seen this quiet. It was like it received it, said, okay, yep, I got it. I'm sending it out. And then it's like, boom, now we're gonna wait. And he was just sitting there looking at it. I mean, you could hear the fear in this man's voice. I mean, normally he's laid back and hey, I don't know what it is. You tell me. But he was like, I've never seen that. I've never seen that. So something, is happening. Something is happening. And I, yeah. And whatever's getting ready to happen, they can't. And they can't. They can try to, do whatever it is that they think they're going to do and can do, but it won't work. It will not.
Right. Absolutely.
It will not work.
Okay.
So, let me come over here. Okay, so it says chapter 9 is responsibility. It says responsibility means to promise and return, to promise and return answer, to promise, to be answerable or liable for creating, to take ownership of a creation. Sounds like a contract, doesn't it? Responsibility is an important attribute to have. We will begin this lesson by presenting words and groupings according to the time periods that we similarly covered in the previous reports, so that you can see what we have labeled ourselves from the beginning of time to our present day. Genesis is where you will find the earliest place in history of man. Read Genesis 1:27. Find out what you have been labeled in the beginning. Many people call themselves a man or a woman or flesh and blood man when writing an affidavit. Please read closely to find out if you really are a man or if it is just a label that other sources have put on you that you have agreed to without question, without finding the true meaning of the word. Start reading in Genesis 1:27 about how God made man in his own image. God created man in his own image in Genesis 1:27. However, in Genesis 2:5, there was no man to till the ground. It appears that there are two kinds of men. Okay, and we're going to get subliminal with this one. But anyway, Israel goes into slavery, Genesis 37. This section begins with the story of Israel inhabiting the land then called Canaan, which means merchant, the future promised land where they were strangers or foreigners in the land. Joseph was sold into slavery by contract to the Egyptians by his brothers, and you were unwillingly sold into slavery by your mother via your birth certificate. There are so many similarities in this event that we will compare the story with what is happening today. Joseph's brothers were jealous of him because of his dreams, so their father made a coat covering of many colors to conceal his outward show. But the brothers stripped and clothed him of the color of law. Was not this actually a good thing? Take out a dollar bill and look on the back of it. Do you see the Egyptian pyramid? This is the symbol and logo of the US Treasury and the Illuminati. At the top, you will see the all-seeing eye of Horus, the symbol of the Secret Service and the Illuminati. You have observed the architecture of Washington, D.C., with its Egyptian monoliths, columns, stairways, and cornices. What are the colors of Egypt? Red, white, and blue. What are the symbols of Egypt? The five-pointed star. Egypt means fenced in. This District of Columbia is 10 miles square. The District of Columbia, the for-profit United States, was started by the Illuminati, a Masonic group that originated, yes, in Egypt. What do you think the Illuminati called the United States? You guessed it, New Egypt. Joseph eventually was released from slavery and became the second command to Pharaoh. You can go into his events more in detail as it has incredible similarities to our current events. But for now, we will continue where a famine, the Great Depression, is in the land, and the remainder of Joseph's family gets drawn into Egypt and later into bondage to till Egyptian ground. In Genesis 5, Pharaoh afflicted the Israelites to the point that they had to find their own straw man, in order to make bricks, transparent fictional entities, Babylon and the Roman Empire. The ancient kings and rulers of the Middle East governed the populace for thousands of years through what they called city-states, where each city and the surrounding areas was a state in and unto itself, independent of other city-states. Many conflicts and battles between the city-states took place because of the continued disagreement with the boundary lines between them. In order to keep the people and their land under their control for commerce and taxation, let me read that again. Many conflicts and battles between the city-states took place because of the continual disagreement with the boundary lines between them, in order to keep the people and their land under their control for tax and commerce. This is where the term citizens come from. Roman rulers used the term as they conquered each territory by declaring, "You are citizens of Rome." Since the people did not want to fight the Romans, they acquiesced, and thus they were verbally contracted under Roman rule, as we are today. Feudal titles of Europe. The Dark Ages brought with it the feudal society, which appeared to be new. However, it was the same enslavement system with a new name. There were so many levels and titles of nobility that one got lost in its complexity of it all. We will not go into all of these titles here, as it would be an entire course in and of itself. However, it is important to define the key titles and levels of serfdom that still linger on in England and in the United States today, even after 1,000 years. Ask yourself, can a title ever be the real thing, or is it a fictional label with fictitious qualities that could be used to manipulate others? America, land of the free. Indentured servants in Europe were frequently offered the option to go to America and work off their debt to the one they owed money to, and sometimes their life. Many took the gamble and found that they were able to pay off their debts much easier and faster in the land of opportunity than they would have stayed in Europe. If they would have stayed in Europe. Consider the following words: trust, trustor, trustee, grant, grantor, legal, description, tenancy, lease, landlord, deed of trust, will, testor, substitutionary executor, fruct, and usufruct. If you think we are no longer in the feudal system here in the good old US of A, think again. If you or a friend have a mortgage or a deed of trust, go to your files and read the first page and answer the following questions. 1, did you know that you created a trust when you obtained your house? 2, who is the trustor of the trust, you or your straw man? And the answer is your straw man. 3, who was the trustee of the trust? The bank. 4, who is the beneficiary of the trust? Answer, the Federal Reserve. 5, what is the described property? The land, or a list of measurements of a fictitious location? Answer, a list of measurements of a fictitious location. 6, if you irrevocably grant a legal description to the trustee, who is the grantor, and just what, if you irrevocably grant, in quotations, a legal description to the trustee, who is the grantor, and just what exactly was granted? Hint, not the land. 7, did the husband and wife sign as joint tenancy? If so, what does that make the trustor? The owner or the tenant? Answer, the tenant. 8, if the trustor is now the tenant making payments to the beneficiary, is not the bank in fact the landlord of the property that you think you own? Yes. 9, if one, the mortgage or trust, dies and the property is disposed of, what is it? It didn't give an answer, but 10, what really is the document called the deed of trust? It says A is a trust, B, a grant, C, a lease, D, a will, E, a contract, F, all of the above. 11, if you said all of the above, you are correct. But if the trustor is a strong man, how do you, as a person, fit into this mystery? You are the settler. Are you the settler or the surety? And the answer is, we are the surety. 12, who gave the consideration for this contract? I didn't give an answer. 13, are the above quote unquote persons of property real or fictitious? And then it says fictitious. 14, if it is fiction, who had the land in the first place before ever walking into the title company to sign the loan? Hint, you, in all capital letters. Who is security for the Federal Reserve note? Same answer, you. 16, who then paid for the loan when you signed the promissory note? Same answer, you. 17, so why do we think that we are the tenant when we get a late notice from the bank or a notice of trustee sale, when the property was ours in the first place and we paid for it with our promissory note, the mortgage contract we signed? Yeah, I found that out. United States, the corporation. In 1871, the United States was incorporated in England and became an English corporation under the rule of the Crown, the Rothschilds. As you will see, the corporations are not governments and can only rule by contracts through copyrighted corporate policy. How can a corporation have authority over you? And it says in bold letters, by silent or expressed contract. So if you keep your mouth shut, then that means you agree to contract.
Yeah,
So that's why they treat you as a tenant in your house when you think you own your house, but they actually, by how they wrote the mortgage contract, made you a tenant instead of the owner.
Yeah.
And then you paid with it with your promissory note.
Yeah, because everything is credit. We have to realize, like, there is no money. It's only just ledger, each side of the ledger being basically validated in a on paper or in a computer system. There's really no money because the Federal Reserve, they're not giving out any of their money because they're only you know, the only money that they really have is the interest that they've made off of our estate. You understand? So there is no money. It's just it's basically balancing a checkbook, whatever.
Right.
And saying,
and that's why, like, the first 15 years, they say when you pay off on a house, you're not even paying for the house. You're just pretty much paying the bank's interest for the first 50 years. So they get their money up front, even though they didn't give you anything, but they use your time, energy, labor.
Right.
Pay. And the promissory note is nothing but a big check. It's like a check, and you signed the check. So you decided that you didn't want to sign that paper. They wasn't going to get nothing. They own nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Learned
that. That's why when I fought with them, all those years, they couldn't really, do anything with me. And that's why they started doing like shady, underhanded backroom deals and having meetings and I was never notified, you know, when all this stuff happened, because I kept saying to them,
Mhm.
you know, without my signature, would you have had anything? And then it was like, well, we wouldn't have gotten paid. I'm like, okay, so it's my energy that if I sign this note, I'm signing over a check to you. I then rescinded my signature and they really got mad. I'm like, because it was a whole thing. And then I finally said to them, prove to me that you gave me anything. And then I finally said to Wells Fargo, I didn't even do business with you. You weren't even in the room. So I know you didn't give me anything. So basically what you're doing is you're lying in this court. You're lying. You know, and I'm like, show me proof. And they couldn't. They couldn't. But then that's when we find out, like the judge, which is the magistrate, again, their first loyalty is to the crown. And basically, you know, they was telling the judge, okay, do your job and wrap this up, you know. So that's when they started doing all these illegal, underhanded things, because they knew they didn't have a case. They knew they didn't have anything.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and continue reading, starting on chapter 10. It says, find out who you really are. Now that you know what you have been labeled, a straw man, what did you find? Not a very comforting picture. Well, strap yourselves in. Strap yourselves in. It's going to be a bumpy ride from here on out when you learn who you really are. In the beginning, it is very interesting to see how one can change his viewpoint on a certain subject after he defines each and every word on that subject. It is not our objective here to change your mind or your lifestyle or your religion during these courses, but you will definitely change your point of view towards what you thought were established facts. Read Genesis 3 in the new light without preconceived ideas that people have verbally told you concerning the truth. Then make up your own mind as to what the truth is for you. The positive meaning of serpent is to learn by experience, to diligently observe. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Matthew 10 and 16. Let's pull up, what did it say? Genesis 3. I want to see what it says. Stop share. I just want to read Genesis 3 real quick to see what it says. It says, now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God has made. He said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? The woman said to the serpent, we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. You will not certainly die, the serpent said to the woman. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord among the trees of the garden. But the Lord called to the man, Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you were in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Then the Lord said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." So the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and you will eat dust. And the days of your life, all the days of your life, and I will put enmity between you and women, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush in your head, and you will strike his heel." To the woman, he said, "I will put your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor, you will give birth to your children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." To Adam, he said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree above which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. From dust you are, and to dust you will return." Adam named his wife Eve because she would become the mother of all the living. The Lord God made garments of skin and Adam and his wife and clothed them. And the Lord said, "The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever." So the Lord banished him from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he had been taken. After he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the garden cherubim and flaming sword flashing back and forth to the guard way, back and forth to guard the way of the tree of life. Mm, okay. All right, I'm gonna continue reading. I just want to see what that chapter was about. Okay, be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Does this definition of serpent differ from the one you have been verbally told? Notice it does not say Satan or the devil. How is your previous definition of serpent different from the original Hebrew written over 6,000 years ago? You may have been told that the serpent told a lie, but if you read Genesis 3 and 5, the serpent says something that the Lord later agreed with. For God does for God does know in that day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open and you will be as gods, knowing good and evil. In verse 22, the Lord states, "Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil." Remember what good and evil are. Good, good to make or be good, to please, goods or good things. Evil, bad, to spoil, by breaking, to breaking to pieces, to make or be good for nothing, to displease. Good and evil, increasing and diminishing, going forth and returning, growing a crop and consuming the crop, create and destroy, ebb and flow, to and fro, give and take, up and down. So it's basically the opposites of each other, negative and positive, you guys. Life and death, in and out, pro and con, yin and yang, positive and negativity, light and dark, God and good, and evil and devil, etc., etc., etc. So, did the serpent state a lie or the truth? Does this mean that your definitions of good and evil are not what you thought they were? You are going to have to ask yourself several questions. Is it good to make goods and create things and not be responsible for them? Is it evil to spoil or consume? Be responsible for your goods or whatever you create? Is it even necessary to choose between good and evil, or are they both essential parts in a complete cycle of understanding? What is meant by the saying, if you eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you will surely die? Was this merely a scare tactic that we gave ourselves to keep us in the status quo, or is the destruction of our creation an essential step in completing a cycle of action into responsibility? Have you ever heard the saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too? Well, if you want to believe that, you can, but if I am going to make a cake, I am going to eat it too. This is the mystery of our existence, the evolution of creation, the technology of completion, the cycle of life. You make your cake and then eat it, good or bad. Let's find out more of how Israel got into Egypt, a box, by starting with the great grandfather of Israel, Abraham, and what his purpose was. God promised that he would be a father of many nations and of many nations, and kings shall come out of you. Genesis 17, 1 through 8. Jacob is a supplanter, bought his birthright from his twin brother Esau, who was a hypocrite, by trading him a bowl of pottage or insolence when Esau was famished or starving for truth. With the help of his mother, which is the infinite mind, Jacob also got the blessing from his father, principal, soul, or spirit, which means that he now had the inheritance. Jacob's name was later changed to Israel and was promised that nations and kings will come from him. Genesis 35, 10 and 11. Israel multiplies into Canaan until the famine. They then journey to Egypt and find their brother Joseph, whom his father thought was dead, but who is really alive. This is similar description of Christ in Revelations 2 and 8. These things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. Israel comes out from Egypt. The children of Israel do not become slaves right away. It takes 300 years of gradual loss of their integrity. Sound familiar? Yeah, it does. The Egyptian hemmed in masters afflicted them with increasing burdens, taxes, but the Israelites only multiplied and grew all the more. Then Moses is born. Moses was drawn out of the water of the Nile River of commerce. Let me read that again. Then Moses is born. Moses was drawn out of the water of the Nile, which is river of commerce, and out of the Red Sea, which is of confusion and debt. But first, the plagues had to occur with all their confusion and death of Egyptians and their property before Israel could leave. Exodus 1 through 7. Remember, the Egyptians worship and which is basically created value and worth of the river. So the Egyptians worshiped the river, which was commerce. The river was commerce. So when it was turned to blood or stopped, they were shocked and dumbfounded and were therefore punished with the value they had put on it. Even the vessels, which were weapons or instruments and corporations of wood, even the vessels of wood, which were firms, and stones, which were buildings, were filled with blood, meaning were stopped, became bankrupt. There were 10 plagues in all, 10 being a number that signifies law. The, the 10 commandments of God's law, as in the setting forth the law of administrative procedure, the 10 maxims of commercial law. Where do the plagues fit? And where would the plague of death of the firstborn be? And what does it signify in today's events? What was the first thing that the United States created just after you were born? Your straw man. When you claim this entity back from the US, you take it from the Egyptians, and in their viewpoint, you have killed it because it is no longer subject to their control. During the plague of the frogs, plague number 4, God put a division between Israel and the Egyptians. There was a Passover of the Israelites' firstborn because they killed or redeemed the lamb by their own will and put the blood or estoppel, which means to stop, on the doorpost, the federal window, as a notice to the destroyer, which is the IRS, to pass over or make exempt or exempt them. Let me read that again. There was a Passover of the Israelites' firstborn. So this is basically just breaking down what the 10 Commandments or what these plagues really meant in legal terms or in law terms. So it says there was a Passover of the Israelites' firstborn because they killed or redeemed the lamb by their own will and put the blood, which basically means to stop, or estoppel, on the doorpost, which is the Federal Reserve window or the federal window, as a notice to the destroyer being the IRS, to pass over or exempt them. The Israelites killed or took responsibility for the lamb, their own creation, so that God would not have to, and for the responsible act, the Israelites avoided loss. After the plague of the firstborn, the Egyptians wanted the Israelites out of Egypt gone. The Israelites borrowed or laid charge and gave notice of leave from the Egyptians by taking valuable jewels of gold and silver, which are commercial instruments as valuable as gold, such as administrative procedures and commercial liens. The most important point of this exodus was that the Egyptians lost most of their commerce when the Israelites left. The Egyptians lost their power to make money and fill treasuries. What would happen to the world if no one wrote their credit signature on another instrument? Today's commerce would completely fold. Your name is your bond. The Israelites could have gone out by way of the land of the Philistines to their north. But God said that the Israelites might return to Egypt if they saw war or controversy. So they went across the Red Sea by rank of 5 into the wilderness. As soon as the Israelites walked across the Red Sea on the dry ground, Pharaoh's army followed after them and was swallowed by the overwash of the sea and destroyed. The Israelites journeyed to Mount Sinai and the wilderness where God gave them the 10 Commandments and other judgments and laws. They also made the tabernacle for the Ark of the Covenant. This took approximately 1 year. Then they journeyed to the promised land where the land was flowing with milk and honey. But when they heard that there were giants and walled cities there, the people said, "Would God that we have died in the wilderness. Would God that we have died in the wilderness." Sorry. "Were it not better for us to return to Egypt?" God accepted this murmuring and said, as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Doubtless you shall not come into the land. Out of their mouth was their judgment, duplication of what was said. As a man thinketh in his heart, the Israelite could not go into promised land. Your goal is contract until every last one of the murmurers, your doubtful thoughts, died or vanished in the wilderness. They were subdued by command, except for Caleb and Joshua, who wanted to go in and take the land at the time. After 40 years, the Israelites crossed Jordan again on dry land and went into promised land, their demonstration. The spiritual moral of the story is this: out of your own mouth shall come your judgment and fate. You speak or think to your advantage or to your detriment. Your choice creates your reality. Babylon and the God Kings. Babylon, Greece, Persia, and Assyria, as well as the earlier civilizations, Sumer and Akkadian, ruled the populace with an iron fist. In the previous lessons on commerce, you got a viewpoint of what it was like to be a citizen. Now you can see the viewpoint of a ruler and the nations that they rule. Monarchy rules. As you learn, it is futile to be feudal. It is futile to be feudal, and it's good to be the king. What is it like to be a king? The first step is to define what a king is so that you can start acting and thinking and talking like a king. An imagery of God. Consider the following words, including derivations: king, monarch, royal, roy, rex, lord, loaf, mind, supreme, dominion, master, baron, duke, sovereign. Look up the word sovereign in several dictionaries. Look for the definitions that fit what the Americans had in mind when they wrote the Declaration of Independence. In the Consolidated Webster Encyclopedia Dictionary of 1939, the derivation of the word sovereign is as follows: sovereign, from superaneous or super, above, over. The English purposely added the G in sovereign. They spelled it Souverein. So there was no G at first. Then he said the English purposely added the G in sovereign, Sovereign, so that it would include the word reign. The word was also spelled sovereign, Sovran, where the E has been dropped. Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, 10th edition. In the Random House College Dictionary, 1984, the word has been further broken down. My conclusion is that the word sovereign has been wrongly influenced by the English derivation, and the true root definition means over and above, and that the word should be spelled sovereign, not sovereign or sovereign. So they're saying that it should be spelled Soveran, not sovereign. So I am making it a big leap here by declaring sovereign to be an American word, and that we can spell our words the way we want to and use them to communicate what we want to communicate. Sovereign, over and above, having supreme authority, dominion, rule, rank, and power over, beyond jurisdiction, independent and self-governing, autonomous, potent, and unlimited in context. Can a sovereign be under any laws, statute, or other authority than God? No, a sovereign is bound only to what he has said, only to his own words. If a sovereign says that he is under the law or authority, then of course he is under the very authority of which he speaks. I'm gonna go back to put the hierarchies of laws back up. You may be saying to yourself, is this too simple? It can't work this simply. All you have to say is fine, have it your way. I mean, all I have to say is fine, have it your way. You can have it however you like because the choice is yours. You are sovereign. You speak your own circumstances. So that's the end of chapter 10. So I just wanted to go over these hierarchy of laws here. This is the highest law, which is universal law, and then next week I will have the universal laws up here. But it says universal laws deal with energies. Main principle, whatever energy you put out must come back to you. That's the universal law. That's the highest law in the universe, okay? Then there's natural law, which deals with the natural ways of all objects and beings which have manifested in the third dimension. So that's us here in this third dimension here, or whatever. Laws of maxim, also known as God's laws. These laws come straight out of the Bible and are the highest laws of the land. They are rights given by God to all beings and cannot be taken away by anyone. So we will be going over the laws, maxims. They're basically the to break them down into, you know, today's terms and things like that. We'll go over that in the next couple of weeks. Then there's the sovereign. A sovereign is a human being, a being that is master of self and operates under God's laws. So we operate under God's laws as sovereigns, has the ability to create laws and constitutions for itself and corporations that it creates. So we, as sovereigns, have the ability to create laws and constitutions for who? For ourselves and our corporations that we create. Whatever we create, we have the ability to create laws and constitutions for as the human being and master of self. So that means that we're the sovereign. And then under the sovereign is contract law. So we are still above anything below here, but we're supposed to be here, but we're here as a citizen, which puts all of this stuff up over us, even though we're supposed to be here. We're all the way down here as a slave of the corporation to which it pledges, does not have rights and only has privileges which are given to it by the corporation to which it pledges. So we, by acquiescing to police corporations and agents, to the corporation, which is a dead fictitious entity, operates under the laws of Constitution. So they operate under the laws of Constitution, does not have the ability to create laws and can only create code, statutes, and ordinances. We put ourselves up under these people because we know we don't operate and we don't know that we are the sovereigns. We don't know that we are up here. So by our mental capacity, we put ourselves all the way down here as a citizen, as a subject, because most of our people don't know law. We don't know who we are. We don't know that we are a being that is the master of self, that operates under God's laws. We don't even know what God's laws is, most of us. We've been lied and taught the wrong thing. I heard, well, not really necessarily. This is what I've basically been coming to. The Bible is just a book of laws. It's a book of the law of life. And it was construed. We was talking about this. I think it was me and my son yesterday, how the Bible, King James came and gave us his version of the Bible to basically put us into slavery. And so that's basically how we ended up here, because we were actually under the Muslim religion before we became under the Christianity religion. But then to my understanding, the Muslim religion actually has a total different meaning from what we think it is as well. It's just basically been dumbed down to give us, to keep us in slavery and not really have the actual meaning of what things are, and to know who we are, and to know that we are the gods that we are. Did anyone have any questions?
Islam mother.
Want to say?
I'm sorry. I think on some deep level, I think people know that they're being stubborn. I think though, because you'll hear them say, you can't tell me what to do, you can't, I've broken no law, you know what I mean? And technically they would be right, they haven't really broken any natural laws. They haven't really, hurt anybody or stolen anything from anyone. And basically, I think they know that they are right. The only thing that stops all of this is that the people that are under the contract laws and all that stuff have, I call them thugs, goons, or whatever, that they hire to keep people from, being free. So I think in some way, form, or shape, which is why I believe, what's going on around the world and people uprising around the world is, I think people know that, what's going on is wrong. They know, I think, intrinsically that it's wrong. And I think that's why people are crying, not crying out, but like, ready to tear stuff up. Because they know, there's like, I haven't hurt anybody, I haven't killed anybody, I haven't, stolen from anybody, I haven't broken any of these 10 laws.
Right,
so why are you sending your goons after me? And if you want to know, the truth about these 10 laws, if we want to go back further than that, they got all these things from our ancestors, who they call Egypt, but it's called Kemet. They got those laws, 10 of those, from the 42 laws of Ma'at, okay? And then they broke it down and made it into 10. But it's basically the same thing, because we also know the law of Ma'at means balance.
Right, absolutely.
And I think, people around the world knows right now that we are so off balance that, they know that they're under these contract laws and these federal codes, and they don't like it. But they know, I think somewhere along the line, they know that there's something, and it's just that, well, if you don't come under our contract law, and even if you say, well, I don't contract with you, then it's like, okay, so now we're going to send the policy officers after you. We're going to send these, attorneys after you, you know what I mean? And everything is contract. Everything is contract. So even if you say, I don't agree to contract with you, they're like, okay, well, we're going to send one of our goons after you.
They find their ways for you to force you under contract. It don't make no sense to what's going on, man. It's just ridiculous right now.
So I think people are being forced into these contracts. So even though they say we willingly walk into these contracts, no, some of them we do, but some of them, no, we're being forced into, like if you don't do this, then we're going to do this to you, so, I think somewhere deep down, I think people know, and that's why people are like really upset
Right.
with what's going on in the world now, because you can't have 1% ruling the other 99%. That's just really out of balance. And they know it's not the law of my eye. And this is basically, even what we're learning in our Wednesday class about grantors and trusts and beneficiaries. He's basically saying the same thing.
Right.
He's basically saying the same thing, find out who you are.
Absolutely. I agree. Anyone else have anything they wanted to add to the conversation?
Hello, Mother.
Yes. Well, yes.
I remember you talking about the Exodus
Mhm.
when they left Egypt and how the Egyptians lost their commerce.
Mhm.
I think that's why particularly our people, when it came to slavery, in the South, when they tried to abolish slavery, the farmers, the people in the South were very upset because, they was going to lose their commerce. They were going to lose money because we were their profit, we're property.
Right.
So we were there to help them make profit, off of our backs, but we didn't
Absolutely.
benefit from it. So it kind of remind me of, the Exodus and things of that nature. And also I feel like they know that we are awakening, that we're coming to our higher vibrations, and they know that we're probably gonna, eventually fight back or walk away or whatever, and they're gonna try to keep us here because they know that, we've been their worker bees for so long. And also I feel like that's why they're allowing all these immigrants to come here too, because I feel like if they feel like we're gonna fight back, they're gonna try to take us all out. And then the immigrants are here to help continue, to fill their pockets and to be their commerce.
Right.
So they're gonna try to pit us against each other,
Definitely. Our community has definitely been infiltrated. We even have to watch our own people now, and it's like really showing its hand right now. Like a lot of things are being exposed, but it's like creating a lot of divisiveness in our community instead of us coming together. But we also have to, a lot of those people need to be exposed at the same time, but and be exposed and extracted from our community. So like a lot of things that are happening right now are definitely something that has to take place, but we as the people have to do better at like coming together and like really getting this information and being able to, because right now we don't know what's really going to happen. We know that it's going to eventually come down. Eventually these this corporation is being brought down, but we don't know like what we have a feeling of what's going to happen as far as like what they've been telling us and what we can obviously see, but we don't know how bad it's going to get. So we just have to be prepared. And like Mother said, like just focus on us and do what we have to do to make sure that we have what we need at the end of the day. And whoever gets the picture and comes along, then that's just whoever is going to be saved or whatever. We have to save ourselves pretty much.
Yeah, basically. And also, I don't know if you all seen this documentary on Netflix it's called The Family. And
No.
it kind of breaks down the corporation. Is very, very interesting. So if you have an opportunity to actually start looking at it, it will open your eyes up to so much as far as the U.S. government and stuff like that with a corporation. I've started watching it, but I haven't finished watching all the episodes.
Mhm.
When you watch it, you're gonna be like, "Oh my God!" Like, yes, it's mine. It will open your mind to a lot of things as well. It's called The Family on Netflix.
I'll check that out, definitely.
Yeah. So that's all I had to say, Mother.
A lot of I just been like really trying to look at things in a different light. So movies and things like that I intently watch certain movies to kind of see um especially the new stuff that they're putting out, because they're putting
Right.
out a lot of stuff, like I said before, that tell us, give us an idea of certain things that have transpired over the past, couple of years. They're really, really exposing a lot of things. So you really have to pay attention to what is being shown to you in these movies or whatever. It's very, very deep. And that's what Bobby Hemmett was basically expressing. Like, you have to think outside the box and really go within sometimes to get an inner and understanding of what's being told to you, because it's being shown to us. We just have to use our intuitive powers to really.
Yeah, that's true. That is so
I
true.
think also like what I was saying about when I was watching the movie Maleficent, you know, and how
Mhm.
brazen that they were. I'm like, they're not even hating it, you know? And I said, okay, what we saw in the end, what I liked was it was funny that in the end, like the people of the forest and all the magical creatures, and she was, they called them the Moors, and she was kind of like the queen. And basically, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but she got tricked and she got hurt and she got injured. And to me, that kind of said, about, us and, our melanated females, because I'm going to say we were tricked and we got injured, but she had to go finally come back to her own original people, and they all had wings and they could all fly. But even though they were all, they were called praise. They were, some of them lived in the mountains, some of them lived in, by the sea, some of them lived, so even though they were all different tribes, they all realized that they were all magical creatures. So it didn't matter that, this one came from here, that one came from there, this one was with this tribe. And, at the end of the day, what she was saying is it doesn't matter what you practice or what your spirituality is and what your thing is. We're all one. We're all one people. And in order to, you know, stop the war that that they're trying to wage against us. Um, um, you know, we have to come together.
Yeah,
We have to come together.
absolutely.
And and in the end, when she knew that she had everybody behind her, she actually became a phoenix, but she became a black phoenix, like melanated, like carbon melanated phoenix. And she just spread her wings and it was like whoosh. I'm not going to tell you anymore, but that said a lot. That really said,
You said that was
you know,
the movie Maleficent.
Maleficent. It was called Maleficent, uh, Mistress of Evil, but she really wasn't evil.
Mm,
But that's what they called her. Like that's the same thing when they call us melanated women, the B's and the C's and the
right,
T's. Yeah, no, because it's like what they call you is not what you are.
right.
They may call you this, but this is not what you are because she wasn't evil. They just feared her because she was very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
She knew how to uh, do a whole lot of magical things. And so she tried to, like, she had, her horns. And so she basically tried to her horns when she was invited somewhere where they tricked her. And I kind of saw that as I just put it out there, like how women wear like wigs and lace
Mm-hmm.
fronts, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she did it for the love of her family, you know. So she was willing to attempt to try to basically hide who she was to try to appear more uh, friendly or inviting. And instead, she's like, look, take this wig off. This is my natural state. This is who I am. I'm not wearing that silly thing. This is who I am. You know, and to me, that's like women finally going natural, finally saying,
Right.
this is my natural hair. This is my natural life. This is me. Take it or leave it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And when she showed her horns, her natural, you know, hair, whatever, they became more fearful of her. So that said a lot too. That said a lot. You know, they were really scared when she showed who she really was. And although she wasn't that, it didn't stop them from being afraid of her. It was powerful. It was called Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. She wasn't.
Okay. Is that a Disney movie?
Yeah, you can get it on Disney Plus if you have
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, that said a lot. I mean, and the queen wore all white. The evil queen, the one who's really evil, wore all white. Maleficent wore all black.
Mm.
Um, and the white queen, literally, the white queen said, "We are going to war with the Moors." The white queen.
Wow.
Yeah, they said it. Moors, Moor. Yeah, and then it was funny because you know, like as you watch it, you're gonna see how the Moors were tricked and what they tried to do with them when they thought when they thought they had.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was like, you know, wow, there were
Gotta
certain
watch
movies.
that.
Yeah, we were mythical creatures. We had
Mm-hmm.
commanded elements. We flew. We had commanded the elephants. We know how to do alchemy. We knew how to do all these things.
Yeah.
You know, we just, and then that's when they told her, "You forgot who you are. You forgot who you were."
Wow.
Yeah, it was
I'm about to
something.
watch that today.
That's the
Watch
movie
this.
with Angelina Jolie.
Yes, yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. The second one where she finally found the rest of her people, and they finally said to her, and the guy that after they tricked her, the first person that came to her rescue was a magical creature, but he had dreadlocks.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. I
Mm.
didn't. I don't think I saw the second movie. I saw the first
Yeah,
one.
I saw the first one, but then I was like, oh, let me see the second one. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did because it showed the first was so when she, you know, fell, it was, you know, the melanated one with the dreadlocks with the wings caught her. So when she was falling, he was like, I'm not gonna let you fall. And if you fall, I'm gonna come and get you. And I think that's something that's very powerful for our men too. So instead of saying you women need to do this and you women need to do
Right.
that, you
Exactly.
know, in other words, when you see us falling, come and pick us up. Come and get
Absolutely.
us. If you see us
Mhm.
falling, don't just sit there and watching us fall to our demise and don't bother about, you know, oh well, you know, she shouldn't have been there, or she shouldn't have went there, or she shouldn't have did that. You know, that's what you get for putting that thing on her head, trying to act like something that she wasn't. No, she was attempting to make peace for her people. You know,
Mhm.
and she thought that that was the way to do it, you know, but, you know, but that was a very powerful scene where she fell and he was like, no, I gotta go get her. She's one of us. I gotta go get her. You know, no matter what, I gotta go get her. And then he nursed her back to health. So it's like, you know, so instead of sitting there saying, oh, you women are this and y'all need to be on your square and you need to do this, I'm like,
Right.
no, how about y'all swoop down and come and get us? How
Absolutely.
about y'all come get us? Help us. You know, don't just say, oh, well, look at her. She fell. Oh, well, next.
I agree
No,
with that.
no. You watch it. It's a very, very, very telling movie. It had a lot. And I was like, Oh my God. I text Noble. I was like, we need to have another movie night because there's a whole lot in that movie. It was a whole lot in that movie. Ah.
Two movies I gotta watch, Maleficent, and then so there's a two parts to this movie, you're saying?
No, well, there is a first part that told the regular story of Sleeping Beauty. And
Okay.
basically the first one was not everything is as you were told.
Mm,
So you know how Sleeping Beauty had Maleficent being the evil witch?
right.
She wasn't. And that's what they was trying to convey. And then in the second one, it went more into her story of who she was, who she came from, where she came from, and her people. That was, yeah, it was a really, really good movie. I'm like, what? Blatant. Yeah, so Maleficent wore all black, and then the real evil queen wore all white. Yeah, that was.
Okay. Wow. Right. Wow. I'll look that up. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add? I know we have Mother Jennifer in here. Peace and love to you, Mother. And Mother Hester. Peace and love to you as well. If not, I'm going to go ahead and end the call for today. I enjoyed our time together. I enjoyed our conversation. Very, very interesting information that we're just learning and coming together to get this knowledge and just put two and two together, put our heads together. We pretty much know we have to file the UCC ones and our financial statements. We also need to do our declaration to change our names if you haven't done that. So that's very important. We'll be eventually implementing, I guess, another day and time where we will come together and kind of like behind the scenes go over some documents and stuff like that that we can start working on and getting an understanding of. So as time progresses, we'll get into that. If anybody wants this hierarchy of laws, I can send it to you. I'm gonna put it in the Telegram chat anyways, as a matter of fact. So you guys can have it.
Oh, Mother,
Mm-hmm.
the video you talked about with Brother Hemet, or
Mm-hmm.
I,
Bobby
do you
Hemming.
have yeah, Doctor, do you have the link for that?
Yeah, I have to find it in my history and then I'll send it to you.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. I know on YouTube it's Serious Time Radio. So, I mean,
Okay,
Serious Time Media, and then you have to just go to like the Bobby Hemmett playlist. That's where most of his videos are.
you said Serious Time Media.
Yep, Serious Time Media.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Did you guys hear about Bobby Hemmett though taking the jab?
No, I
No.
haven't heard anything like that. Even like Brother Crumb the other day was saying on his show, like we don't even know what happened to him because I know a few years ago he had a stroke or something like that, but we haven't heard. Like I've just come to start knowing Bobby Hemmett over the past couple of years, myself and my husband listening to him, and fell in love with his character and stuff. And so there was a video that I think Brother Panic had put out like last year, or the year before, where Bobby Hemmett was on the phone or something like that, and he was speaking. He was talking there. He was being himself, but you could tell like he was kind of sick. So ever since then, no one really knows what's going on with him. There's like they're keeping it hush hush or something. But you know something that we don't know.
Mm.
Well, I'm still looking into that because I'm like, I find it very hard to believe um that he would, especially with everything that he knows. It was one of the other communities I was listening to, and I'm like, wait a minute, okay, that doesn't even sound right. Um, and then all of a sudden, and I'm thinking, okay, he didn't say anything, but I'm hoping he doesn't come out and say, you know, and I hope he doesn't endorse it. I really hope not. If he did on his own, that's his, choice and his decision. I just
Well, who did you hear this through though?
hold on. It was um it was okay. I got it. I'm gonna have to go back to my watched videos. Oh my god, there's so
Mm-hmm.
many in history, and I'll see if I can find which one.
Okay.
Because when they said it, they kind of said it and then quickly, you know, and they said something to the effect of, yeah, but why did he, take? They said, yeah, but why did he take the jab? I'm like, what? And then they kind of went away from that. You know what I mean? Like they got
Mm-hmm.
off of that real quick. And I'm like, okay, you can't make a comment like that and then, don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm like, no, that's a discussion to be had. Let me go look through
Wasn't
my
even sure he was still alive, or I mean, not that I wish,
and I
but for
didn't think
sure.
he was. I thought he I thought I didn't think he was in the realm of the ancestors. So yeah, so that was kind of weird that they said that. And I'm like, has anybody else heard that? But yeah, let me go through. I'm gonna go
Mm.
history list and see if I can locate which one.
Mother
Yeah.
Shay,
Yes,
what do you think about what's going on in the conscious community?
it's sad, real sad. That's really what I've been talking about. Honest, I don't want to like go into details and give any particular person or anything no shine or no light because it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm very disappointed, and at this point, it's just like I'm just focused on what we doing here. Like whoever shows up, that's who we gonna work with, and we gonna do what we gonna do. Period. Because I mean, it's just so much mess. It's just too much mess happening. I don't know.
Yeah,
Don't
it
know
is.
who you can trust at this point, but I'm willing to work with those who willing to work with me. Period, and we can go from there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's like my grandmother used to say, you got to chew the meat but spit out the bones.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with our community is the trust issue.
Yeah.
We have a hard time trusting
But
each
did
other.
I not say that? Like when I first came on with Brother B Miles, I saw what it was from the beginning that we don't trust one another. And I was saying we have to learn, we have to heal, and we have to start trusting one another. I've been saying that from the
Yeah.
beginning.
And we have to put in the work, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If
Absolutely.
you know you cause someone to mistrust you for whatever reason, you got to own up to it and put in the work and apologize and move forward. But a lot of people, that
Yeah.
pride, that ego,
Pride and
people
ego.
don't
Yeah.
want to do that, and when you cause people to untrust you, you cause hurt and pain, it's hard for people sometimes to come, to get over that, so you have to put in the work to earn their trust back because trust is a two-way street, you know what I'm saying? So it's
That's
just
why,
unfortunate.
honestly, y'all, like this information, this stuff is very complex. I'm not
It
gonna lie
is.
to you. And like, I just feel like, man, I just feel like our people going through what we going through now is so hurtful, but it don't even have to be like this if we just take the time to study this information and come into the knowledge of self, period. Because we should not, there should be no competition. We all
No.
have an inheritance. We all have We just gotta like get it. Like that's why I'm taking my time. I'm studying this information, and like I said, it's very complex, and I'm working on myself, on my inner self to try to, um, you know, not just get the information, but with my, try to make sure I'm keeping my body healthy, and to help myself grow physically as well.
Mhm.
I can like really get this information because I just have a hunger for it, and I see that all we have to do is like free our people with this knowledge.
Yeah.
And like I don't know why people stray away from it. Um, they did make it complex, but so I kind of understand why people be like, well, because I've heard it many a times, like fuck that paperwork. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
But
it's
they don't
like,
understand that it's going to take paperwork and it's going to take work. And let's face it, some of our people on I'm gonna just put it up underneath there when they say minority,
mhm,
the key word of that is minor, which means you are not able to think for yourselves and be
Yeah.
right,
responsible for yourselves. And there are some people who really are minors. They really they want other people to do the work for them. They want to take the easy way out. They don't want to read. They don't want to learn. They don't want to, they're, oh, you do this for me. And I mean, do you
right,
know how many people have come up to me? It's like, oh, can you look this up for me? I'm like, okay, but that's a quick Google search. You can look it up the same way I did, but they would rather have you do all the work and just, oh,
right,
just hand it to me. And I'm like, no, I think, like certain things, yeah, certain things I gotta go on other, places and sites and stuff to find it. So some of it is not readily available. But stuff
right.
that's on the surface, on, like, yes, oh, I can't because I'm busy. Oh, my, hey. And they really have put themselves in the category of being a citizen
Yeah,
because you are saying you need other people to rule over you because you are saying I can't do anything for myself because I'm a perpetual child and I will be one for the rest of my life and therefore I don't want to do anything. I want you to help, drag me. I'm a dead horse. I ain't got no energy, but I want you to drag me over that finish line. Yeah, no.
I think back to like now, like Kwame Brown, he talks about how like most of our children are like most of the men pretty much are reading at a fourth grade reading level. Like they
Hmm.
to read. Like how did they even pass us through school? I learned how to
It's
read.
on purpose. It's on purpose though. It's like that's why they have they call the school to prison pipeline. They don't want children to know to read and do math and
Hmm.
science and stuff like that. They don't want that. Like I don't know if you guys know about the story about these two girls was I think the school was in Georgia. It was a high school, and it had a black girl who was a valedictorian and a black girl who was a salutatorian. So you have, melanin magic in place one and place two. And of course, the ambiance got all upset. You need to recount that. You need to do this and you need to do that. So they don't expect our children to excel and because they know they can't compete. So then it's like when they come face to face with excellence, their heads go tilt, So they purposely dumb down our kids so our kids don't get to that level. It's on purpose. They want you in the school to prison pipeline. They don't want you excelling and becoming the next nuclear physicist. They don't want you to invent the next thing that's gonna give you free energy. They don't want that. So they dumb our kids down so they can't read past what.
Absolutely. There's just
Well,
like,
who they gonna put in the prisons? You got to keep them at 90% capacity. You know,
right.
space.
Yeah, it's that sad because, I remember growing up, my mom used to make me and my brother do Mother Shake. Even though we were doing good in school, she would still make us read a book. still make us write a report, and we still had to explain to her what we read and did we understand what we read. Like she used to make us do that all the time outside of school. And
Mm,
we used to be so angry with her. But now that I'm older, you look back on it, you're like, okay, I get it now. Like my brother, he was really smart with mathematics and
mhm,
physics. Like he took a heavy load his last year in high school. He took physics, he took calculus, he took all those hard classes and stuff. But I was really good with history, English and science and stuff like that. But the math part I struggled with. So of course I had a tutor, for math outside of school. But I used to get so mad with my mom because I'm like, why are you making us do this? Like we doing good in school already. We read
mhm,
enough. We taking all these hard classes. And she was like, you'll understand later on.
mhm, right.
And now, I get it and stuff. And, even my brother, he was a pilot in the military.
Mhm,
He was the only one in his class. And, he had a very difficult time because the others, they didn't want to study with him. They didn't want to, do nothing with him. So he used to call me all the time. He used to be so upset. And I was like, "No, you got to stay focused because it's something that you really, truly wanted to do." And I was like, you have no problem studying by yourself. You have no problem doing anything by yourself. I said, you just stay focused on what it is that you have to do. And, he made it through the training. His training was a long time, but uh, I remember he used to call me, he used to be so upset, and I was like, "You just gotta stay focused." And we're not dumb, they just try to dumb us down, and stuff because they know that we're smart, we're creative people. We
right.
just gotta put in our heads that we are exceptional people. I feel like we are, but I think sometimes we get in our own way, we let all this other stuff distract us.
Most definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Can I
so
just tell you when I was, and it's funny because I told this to like one other person. When I grew up in school in Brooklyn, and that is like the breeding ground. They want you, they don't want you learning nothing. And.
wow.
So as I was in Brooklyn, when I was a little girl, I remember they used to have bookmobiles, and the bookmobiles used to come by, and they were like literally rolling libraries on wheels. And they literally had like a little spot where they used to go, and I used to be one of the first kids in line wanting to get the books from the bookmobile. And
Yeah.
they used to come by every week, and I was the first one, like, okay, here's this 2 books, give me 2 more books. So by the time I got to be in 4th grade, and of course I had, nothing but Albion teachers, and a teacher from another class came to visit our teachers, and we were just all sitting there reading. And I was, we was reading, I think it was an English class, and I heard my teacher saying to this other teacher, and I heard her say my name. And so I looked up because I thought she called me. And she's like, no, 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 I didn't call you. So I heard her whispering to the other teacher, because I was only in 4th grade at the time. They said, yeah, she's reading at a 10th grade level. And she says, and I'm pretty sure if I gave her a college book, she'd be able to read it. And then she said, not only is she reading it, because I love reading comprehension. I love words. I love words. Give me an essay, I'm on it.
Mhm.
And so then this teacher was like looking, and so they both looked at me. And I'm like, why are they looking at me like that? Because I guess I was the only one in the class reading at a 10th grade or above level. And I was only in 4th grade. So then about a couple of months later, this teacher came up to me and she just said, oh, you're more. And then she walked away. I'm like, what? And
Wow.
I'm in the 4th grade. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, but she knew. She said, oh, you're more. And then she walked away. And I'm like, so in my mind, I'm going home. And so I asked my mother, I said, this is more. And then my mother didn't know, because she was young too. She gave birth to me when she was 15 years old. So she was a baby herself. So she didn't know. I mean,
Wow.
no, I was in 4th grade, but so my mother's 15 years older than me, but she didn't know.
Wow.
So I didn't know either. So I just always had that in the back of my mind, like, why did she call me that? Why did,
Uh,
and now that I'm an adult, I'm like, you know what, that little, like, to she knew, she knew, she
mm,
knew. And I'm like, wow. So how many of our kids don't know? And that's the first time I ever heard somebody do a more. I'm like,
Um,
it was an Albion teacher who told me
mm,
that's something. So they don't want children to know that. They don't. She was brave to say it. She was very brave to say it, but yeah, they don't want our kids to know that.
I'm with you, Mother Shay. It's so hurtful. Like it just breaks my heart. I get when I'm here at home, sometimes I get so angry because I think about I'm like, oh my God, like we got generations of people that didn't know anything, that know the truth, and
right.
we're slowly finding out, but it's so much that we gotta learn, so much we gotta catch up on. Like it's just it breaks my heart. Like I'm tearing up just talking about it right now because I'm like, oh
Mm,
my God, like and even as a young girl, I used to always think, I'm like, why do they hate us so much? Like
right.
we don't bother anybody. Like, what is it about us that they just do not like us? As a child, I used to ask that question all the time. And I'm like,
Mm,
it gotta be something bigger and deeper than what they're trying to say, but it
right.
just breaks my heart. It really truly does. And I know you're sharing this information with your children. I don't have children, you
Mm,
know, but I know that you're sharing this information with your children. So that's a start. That's a good thing as well. So like you said, we gotta start somewhere.
Look
absolutely.
at the movie Maleficent, and it'll give you a clue. It'll give you a lot of clues as to why. Look at the movie. Look at the
I gotta
movie.
watch the second part, but I know I already put the first one. As a matter of fact, I looked it up on my DVR. I'm gonna watch the first one again, but I gotta get the second one so I can watch that one.
Yeah, the second one is going to go into more detail. And I mean, they're putting it in your face. Literally, they're just really putting it in your face. I mean, blatant in your
Okay.
face. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Too bad. Too bad. Who for you? Like, let me grow my wings again.
I know that's right. Cause
Get my wings.
they already know once we get this information, I know I'm a rebel at heart. So I know if they know that, we're strong and we'll fight back, they already know once we get this information, oh my goodness, we will be a force to be reckoned with. They wouldn't be able to touch us on no level. So
Have any of you done your genealogies?
how do we do that? I
I
don't
I did it
Basically,
because
you basically start with asking your
family members.
your family members and just going back starting from your mother and going back to her parents and their children and then her their parents and just going back each generation. um you can start on like ancestry.com. That's where I started at. um
How far did you get back?
I have I haven't got going, especially on my mother's side. I haven't gone farthest past 1900s. I'm stuck right there.
I got to the 1800s. That's well, I got to my third grandmother on my mother's side. So
Yes,
my great
like
great
my mother's mother, my great grandmother, whatever,
I,
right.
I
who was
think
supposedly born in like 1868 or eight something around there. I can't go back past like her generation as far as who her mother is or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
And what
think
did
Dan
did you
Galloway
say?
has a book too that shows you how to do that. You
mhm.
can buy his book on Amazon that he shows you how to trace back the genealogy and then where to
Who?
go to find them. Dan Calloway.
Oh yeah. I need to order that book because I watch his videos sometimes too. And what does
Mhm.
on your mother Shay on your great great grandmother's birth certificate? That what does it say on her birth certificate? What her race
I
is? Because on
I
my
don't see the birth. I haven't seen the birth certificate, but I have found like some census records. That's why I can't go back any further. On the census records, I found something that says Choctaw, and they're from
Mhm.
Mississippi. So I do know my family is from Mississippi. I believe they were farm owners because my mother has said as a child she went back to Mississippi and was on the farm and they had chickens and stuff like that. You know,
Mm. Oh wow.
Like,
Cause on
yeah, my
on
mother's was from Shawnee, from West Virginia, Shawnee tribe from West Virginia.
okay.
see on my great great grandmother's birth certificate, it just put her as mulatto. And
Mm,
I'm like, why do they put that on there? Because I know that's not true, you
hmm.
know. So it's frustrating to me because I don't after that, that's where I got stuck. I couldn't go anything past that.
And
So
they did that because some of them, like some of the Albions that came here, purposely married the native, the Aboriginals, so they can have children with them, so they can claim the land. And then what they would do is kill the mates.
What I do know, I haven't, because I don't necessarily know how to look into them like that. I, but I have heard that if you look into the military file records, because I know like on my grandfather's side, my grandfather was in the war, I think World
mhm,
War II or something like that. So he was in the war like in 1945 or something like that. Um,
mhm,
so that my grandfather was in the war, and I think his father was in the war before then. Um, so like, and so my on my that's my father's side, and they're from Dublin, Georgia. They're from Georgia.
mm.
So
We might be related, Mother
right,
Shakers. I have
right.
a lot of family members from Georgia.
And my his mother was they said my dad said she was a Cherokee. I
Uh-huh.
don't even think they even really know what they were really saying back then. But like even right now, my daddy was like, "Yeah, my mama, she was a Cherokee or whatever." But I don't even think he really that's registering his head what that means or anything.
Mm, mm.
It's just like we were Indians, like, and that's just what it is. Okay, because I've even went to my aunts and tried to like tell them, but nobody's like really taking it serious.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the frustrating for me because I'm like, where do we come from? Like, where is the or and it's hard. I was happy that I got as long as far as I did with the information, but after that I got stuck. So I got kind of frustrated. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I know this is where it ends, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what else to do after that. So I was like, oh well, I said, well, I'm happy I got that far. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. So, but
Because
that's
yeah,
good.
my dad even like sometimes like he'll just say some things, and he was like my granddad. I guess my grandfather, my grandmother got married when he was in the military, and he was in Hawaii, and I guess that's where my grandmother had because my aunt is the oldest.
Mhm.
My dad mentioned she had her in Hawaii or something like that when my granddad was in the military. I'm like, wow. And
Oh
my
wow.
dad said that my grandfather um has like some type of monument, like his name is in the ground or something on a plaque or something like that in Georgia.
What?
Yeah, so
Have you been to Georgia
no,
to visit?
no, I have not. Well, I've been there, but that was a couple of years ago before I know this knowledge. So
Mm.
I go back. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Georgia has a lot of history that they have really truly covered up, and slowly but surely it's coming out. It's just unfortunate, cuz I asked my mom, like my mom, she knows a lot of stuff, and I even on some of the pictures that I'm able to download off of Ancestry, of my family and stuff.
Mm,
I asked my mom, I was like, I said, these names, are we related to all these people? She was like, yeah, we related to all these people. I'm like, oh my goodness.
mm.
It's just, what is your family's name?
So on my dad's side, from what I found some blues. It goes back no, so my dad's father's name is Perry, and his mother's uh their names are Parkers. So then it goes back to blues. I found some blues and I can't remember what else. But on my mother's side, we have it's Carter, triplets. Then it goes back to Johnson. That's my mother's. That's her mother's name. Her husband's name was Johnson. So that's where I'm stuck at right now.
Oh,
And I
wow.
can't go back. And they had I can't go back any further. They were
We got,
Johnsons.
we got Johnsons in my family too.
Mm.
Got Johnsons, Goodmans, Pritchard. Oh my goodness, we got so many. Ellis.
Mm.
Oh, we have so many.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, we never know. I think we all related somewhere.
Yes, most definitely.
Especially on that East Coast, southeastern part. We related somehow.
It's my mother's. I have to get going because I have to prepare my lesson for 2 o'clock today.
Okay.
But this was a really, really, really good book reading today. It was
But,
wonderful. Loved it. Loved it.
well, thank
So,
you all so much. This was so awesome. And I'm always looking forward to the reading of this day. I'm always looking forward to it. So
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
yes, it was wonderful.
Well, we'll see you in the class, Mother Mia.
Oh yeah, I've had more requests, and I'm like, okay, guys, I done gave you what I told you. I'll give it to you one more time, but we gotta move on because we're about to start this lockdown, so I got stuff to go over.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta make sure our people are ready. So, so I'm gonna sign off right now because I'm gonna prepare my lessons. But it was
Okay.
so good talking to everybody. Loved it.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here and your participation. And we will see you in a couple of hours.
Yeah, mom of my family.
Islam.
Islam.
All right, guys. Well, I'm not going to hold you all any longer. I mean, if you guys want to continue the conversation, we can. But if not, we can conclude for today. And I enjoy these conversations too.
Yes, they're very enlightening.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we can start implementing them more throughout the week and really get diving down into this stuff, depending on who's interested or whatever. I don't mind. So
But I'm with you, Mother. I'm interested, so I love it.
absolutely. Okay, well, we'll figure something out. Maybe we'll make one of the training days a reading day.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
That
That
yeah.
sounds good.
Okay. So we'll figure that out. Probably we'll do Tuesday as a reading day and make Thursday just to go over some of the crypto stuff and just make sure everybody doesn't have any questions and everyone is set up where they need to be or whatever.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. And thank you, Mother Hester. Thank you. Enjoyed having you here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and end the call for the day. Thank you for being here, Mother Jennifer. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll put the link for the Grow Show and Know class in the chat. As soon as I grab it out my email, so I'll put it in there.
Okay.
But I'll see you all next time. You guys have a great day and we'll see you Tuesday.
Yes.
All right.